Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Tisa, and nestled in this parsha is perhaps one of the most incredible and overwhelmingly dramatic stories of the entire Torah. A story which forever changed the trajectory of our people. The Chet Egel, the sin of the golden calf. We know the story. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Har Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu ascends Har Sinai in order to literally bring down the Torah, bring down the Luchos from the Ribono Shalom and give them to Klal Yisrael. And through a miscalculation, Klal Yisrael thought that it was day number 40. In fact, it was day number 39. And Klal Yisrael, again, assuming the worst, that Moshe Rabbeinu had died. They felt leaderless, they felt rudderless, and they panicked. And as a result of that panic, they built the golden calf. Whether the golden calf was a form of idolatry, or whether the golden calf was just supposed to be another leader, not really material to our conversation, but nevertheless, the mistake was dramatic. The mistake was tragic. And the mistake fundamentally ruptured the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And in a moment, in an experience that was supposed to be a Bani experience, the entire essence of Matan Torah, the entire essence of Sinaitic revelation was to create a bond between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And Nachman al-Islam, at least for that little bit of time after the golden calf was built, there was such a split, there was such a rupture, there was such negativity, there was such hurt, there was such pain. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Avracha makes an amazing observation. The Rebbe says, quoting on the pasuk, this is Parak Lamed Aleph pasuk Yud Ches, chapter 31, verse 18. Vayitein el Moshe kechaloso ledaber ito bahar Sinai shnei luchos ha'edos luchos even ksuvim be'etzba Elokim. So the Rebbe says, the pasuk says that Vayitein el Moshe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu literally again gave the tablets, gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu. Kechaloso ledaber ito, when he finished speaking to Moshe on Har Sinai, shnei luchos ha'edos, 2 stone tablets, the tablets of testimony, ksuvim be'etzba Elokim, literally written by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Beautiful. So the Rebbe makes the following observation. The Rebbe says, let's get this straight. When is this pasuk taking place? This pasuk is taking place on day 40. Because remember again, this was the culmination of Moshe Rabbeinu's 40-day sojourn on the top of Har Sinai. So he was with HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the last 40 days. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him the Luchos, inscribed, again, written by the very hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, anthropomorphic in nature. But Moshe Rabbeinu has it. This is day number 40. The Rebbe says, but one second, let's go back on the timeline for just a second. When did Klal Yisrael build the golden calf? They built the golden calf on day 39. Right? Because remember, they got all mixed up. They thought day 39 was day 40. Remember again, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going to be gone for 40 days. But Moshe Rabbeinu meant 40 complete days. So really they were supposed to start counting from the next day. Not the day that Moshe ascended, but the following day was day 1. They counted the day that Moshe Rabbeinu ascended as day 1. And as such, according to their calculations, what was day 40 was in fact day number 39. So they built a golden calf on day 39. Which means just understand what's happening over here. And yet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Moshe Rabbeinu the completed Torah, the completed Luchos, the tablets, when? On day 40. So the Rebbe says, understand what this means. This means that as Klal Yisrael was building the calf, Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, receiving the Torah from the Ribono Shalom. Now, the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was present and receiving the Torah makes perfect sense, because Moshe Rabbeinu had no idea what was happening down below. In fact, remember again, the only time Moshe Rabbeinu understands the enormity of what has occurred is when he's walking down the mountain and he sees the Jewish people celebrating around the golden calf. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew. The Ribono Shel Olam knew. Difference, you understand what the Rebbe is saying? The Ribono Shel Olam knew on day 39 that they had built the calf. He knew it. The Ribono Shel Olam saw everything that was happening. He saw the immorality. He saw the breakdown of barriers. He saw everything on day 39. And yet still that entire time, what is he doing? He's teaching Moshe Rabbeinu Torah as if nothing occurred. It's only after HaKadosh Baruch Hu has finished giving Moshe the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu has the Luchos, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Lech Reid, you go. But that was the next day. The whole day 39, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's happening, the Rebbe says. Yet, the Ribono Shel Olam didn't act. He continued learning with Moshe, continued conveying to Moshe, continued inspiring Moshe, continued Kiviyachol to write the Luchos. And the Rebbe says, so what's the message? The message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was trying to teach us is that even in moments of tremendous failure, and even in moments of tremendous setback, you keep going. You keep moving. You see, says the Rebbe, the Ribono Shel Olam is modeling for us through his own behavior. He's modeling for us how to deal with adversity. So often we hit bumps in life, or so often we slam into walls in life, and we stop, and we just kind of like lay there on our back, down and out, trying to catch our breath. I'm like, I'm done, and we become totally paralyzed. And you understand after a little bit of time that life paralysis doesn't get you anywhere. Life paralysis just leaves you lying in place. Life paralysis just leaves you immobilized in a state of pain and difficulty. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us that even in moments of dramatic adversity, even in moments of setback, even in moments of failure, keep going, keep moving. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I know what's going on down there. I know what's happening on day 39. I got it. I see it. I'm HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm everywhere all the time. So I'm here with you, Moshe, and I'm down there with them at the Egel, and I know exactly what's happening. But, Moshe, let me model for you a lesson. Even when it feels like the world is crumbling, and even when it feels like life is falling apart, and even when you've encountered adversity like you've never encountered before, there was no sin like the sin of the golden calf. When we think about our ancestors' sojourn in the desert, we have the Chet Egel, the sin of the golden calf, and the Chet Meraglim, the sin of the spies. And the Gemara tells us that every single calamity that happens to Klal Yisrael is somehow tethered, somehow rooted in the sin of the golden calf. Chazal compare it to a couple getting married and the wife being unfaithful to her husband under the chuppah. Adultery is always terrible, but who could have possibly imagined in that moment when the relationship is supposed to be solidified and concretized and there's a relationship trespass? Har Sinai was the chuppah. Har Sinai was the chuppah, the beginning of the nuptials between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael, and we betrayed him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that betrayal. He sees the betrayal. He feels the betrayal as it's occurring. And what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He keeps moving forward. You'll say, but that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Moshe. No. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is modeling for us what we need to do in times of adversity as well. We plow forward. We pull through. We keep moving. You don't stop for anything. No matter what happens, no matter what is falling apart, no matter how overwhelming the circumstances may be, at the end of the day, you keep moving forward. Now, it doesn't mean that when you keep moving forward, everything is going to work out just as it should, because remember, although Moshe Rabbeinu goes down with the luchos, he breaks them and ultimately has to go back up a second time. But it's not really about what happened at the end of the story. It's really about what was happening during those overwhelming moments. When we get overwhelmed in life, almost the reflexive reaction is to stop and remain paralyzed. But in fact, HaKadosh Baruch Hu models for us that just the opposite is true. In times of difficulty, push forward. Times of difficulty, try harder. And you could plug this in to almost like every area of life. Could be I'm in a state in life where I'm having difficulty in my interpersonal relationships, maybe in my marriage, maybe with my kids, maybe with my friends, whatever it may be. And sometimes the problems seem so overwhelming that it's almost as if I shut down. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu models for us, don't do that. There's a problem in the marriage, work harder. There's a problem in communication with the kids, work harder, push through it. Now again, just because you work harder or you keep pushing doesn't mean that the problem is going to resolve. There are some problems that can't get fixed. And there are some relationships that ultimately, again, are beyond salvation or beyond repair. But as a model for life, as an approach to adversity, you keep moving through. How many of us get into a rut in our ruchnius, in our spirituality? It happens to all of us, right? Through all of our peaks, through all of our valleys. The only variable is how high is your peak and how low is your valley and how much is the distance between your peaks and valleys. But we all have it. But sometimes we get into such a rut, like we can't get out. We can't get out. And I feel like, you know what? This is where I am. This is what it is. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu models for us, no. When you get into a rut, keep moving. Figure out a way through. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I know, Kiviyachal, what it's like to feel your world crumbling around you. Can you imagine how the Ribono Shel Olam must have felt on day 39? Where the nation that he saved, the nation that he took out, the nation that he sustained, now again can't hold it together for another couple of hours, for another day, just to see, like, I don't know, maybe we made a mistake in accounting. Maybe, just maybe. Can you imagine how HaKadosh Baruch Hu felt that feeling of betrayal? That feeling of sadness. It's not even anger. It becomes anger later on. But that feeling of just profound sadness, that feeling of being let down. And yet, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He continues his Chavrusa Shaft with Moshe Rabbeinu. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't get derailed. Don't be paralyzed. Keep moving it forward. And Chavruah, an important lesson for us during these overwhelming days. Every week that goes by, at least I think to myself, you know what? The war is going to end. The hostages are going to be returned. Klal Yisrael will be able to stop offering up constant karbanos on the altar, on the mizbeach of mesiras nefesh, of self-sacrifice. But another week goes by, and our hostages are still not home, and our precious soldiers are still fighting battles, and there are still levayas, and there are still sacrificing, and there are still broken hearts. And sometimes, I find sometimes, like, when you stop for too long, and you really allow yourself to feel the pain of Klal Yisrael, you can become paralyzed. You can become totally immobilized. How could one nation suffer this much? How could these mishpachas be put through such nisyonos, through such trials and tribulations? Sometimes you think about it and you're like, you know what? I can't do it. I can't do it. And come Parshas Tisa, and the Rebbe almost like takes our hand in his, and he says, I know what it's like to suffer loss. And I know what it's like to go through periods of sadness. And I know what it's like to feel when your entire world comes crumbling down all around you. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I know what it feels like. And I also modeled for you how to deal with it. On my day 39, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I pushed forward, I pushed through, I kept on doing, I kept on learning, I kept on working. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, follow that same plan. Follow that same model, and you too will find success, will find happiness, will find shleimus, and will find shalom. Our God, our HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our Father, doesn't just give us laws. He gives us all of the strategies we need to be successful in life. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the ability to power through adversity, that means He endowed and imbued us with that same koach as well. May we zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to find it and to utilize it, and in Yirtzeh Hashem navigate our way through our personal and national difficulties. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.